Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Alex Thomas channel. My name is Tyler, aka Mind of a Nerd, and welcome to another episode of Nerd Talk. We are at episode 54, and we are talking about Creed 3 tonight, as well as some other juicy topics that have come in the week. What's going on, everybody? I'm here
What's up?
with
What's up?
AJ Reacts 2 and my best friend Kevin, who
Yes,
was here
sir.
last week,
What's up?
returning. What is going on, everybody?
I'm good, man. I'm excited to talk about Creed. Excited to talk about our other topics. Had a pretty good day at work. Ready to get into it.
All right. We got a couple people in here. Charles Clayton, what's going on? What's going on? Don't want to waste anybody's time because we got a lot to discuss. So let's get into it. Starting with some news that came out today that I'm kind of annoyed about, but the fact that the I think two of the three upcoming Star Wars movies that were coming out have now been shelved. One of them is no surprise to anybody why it got shelved because she kind of put her foot in her mouth. Um, and the other one I'm very confused about, but at the same time not really confused about. So for those who don't know, Patty Jenkins, this was announced. Oh, it feels like an eternity ago. I don't even remember when this was announced. I think it was like 2021. It could have been when they did. Yeah, it was when they did that Disney Plus. They did like this big Disney Plus celebration, and they had announced like a bunch of Marvel and Star Wars stuff. That's when they had announced like Ahsoka was getting her show, and Star Wars Visions and all that. And they also had announced movies, and one of the movies they had announced was a Patty Jenkins directed movie from Star Wars called Rogue Squadron. And immediately everyone was like, "Oh, so Top Gun but Star Wars. That's cool. Okay." Um and then the movie never really moved. Then we got Wonder Woman 84 and we were like, and then we just didn't really hear anything about this at all. And then the whole thing with DC happened with James Gunn, and then her Wonder Woman 3 was canceled, and then she was just gone from Warner Brothers, and then now we get this. So Patty Jenkins seems to be kind of done. I don't know.
She about to be hiding under a bridge or something. She
Um,
going into hiding, man.
Loki
Telling
ended
you.
up like Josh Trank. I honestly, this kind of makes me sad. I was excited for a Rogue Squadron movie. I think a Rogue Squadron movie could have been something special if done right. Basically, you take the tone of Rogue One and apply that to fighter squadrons. That could have been epic. And who's to say that they don't just give this? That's what I think they should have done. They should have, if they didn't want Patty Jenkins directing, they should have just taken Patty Jenkins off the project and giving it to somebody else instead of just killing the whole movie, because the movie as a concept is genius. That's a great idea for a Star Wars movie. No, gone. So it's like, okay. How you guys feel about this?
Um, when I heard about Rogue Squadron, I was hyped. I wanted, like you said, the fighter pilots, Top Gun, but Star Wars style. I was excited for this. When I heard that Patty Jenkins was over it, I wasn't like over the moon, but I was like, she's kind of a competent director. And then we saw Wonder Woman 84, and I was like, I don't want her over this. I don't want her directing this. So yeah, I am kind of bummed that the movie is shelved, but I also feel like if it was gonna come out with her over it, I wouldn't want it. I wouldn't want it at all. If they wouldn't have changed that.
Kevin?
Um, the concept itself was exciting, so it was pretty disappointing when we heard that it was out. but I think there's like a good chance that maybe the script or whatever was being worked on was just complete dog shit. So they were just like, this is not worth just getting a director and pasting over it. I probably would have rather just restart the whole process again, gotten a new writer, gotten a new director, just basically start from scratch. But as far as eliminating everything, it sucks. But you know, considering it was Patty Jenkins and she did Wonder Woman 84, if this is a situation where maybe it was trash, I'm not going to be upset. But it just sucks that it just disappears off the map. But
and then the other news is that the Kevin Feige produced Star Wars movie is gone too, which this one kind of makes sense because why would Kevin Feige want to produce a Star Wars movie when he's got about 18,000 Marvel things to produce right now? And a Star Wars movie, in my opinion, while Kevin Feige producing a movie from them is exciting, it's not necessary. You don't need to do that. But this news, it upsets me. It really does. And we also got news about Taika Waititi's Star Wars movie that, yes, it is still in active development, and apparently he's going to star in it. I am not in agreement with that at all because, honestly, if you ask me, I don't think Taika Waititi is a good actor at all, if I'm going to be honest. I liked him in Jojo Rabbit, and I like him as Korg to an extent. But I found him insufferable in Free Guy, and I found him insufferable in Lightyear.
I got a question, though. Is it
so?
that you don't think he's a good actor, or you don't resonate with his comedy, his style of comedy?
I mean, I have to resonate with it if I love Jojo Rabbit.
I know, but like with his other roles, is it like you feel like he's not delivering his lines well? He's not, he doesn't have chemistry with the other actors, or is
in Free Guy, I did not like him at all. I was like, you're like immensely over the top, and I'm not the only one that felt that way either. There were a lot of people that were like, I don't like him,
as far as Core goes, because that's like the one thing I remember most. He didn't. I think Taika Waititi's character has always been just a throwaway guy. He's there. He'll try to make some laughs, and then he'll be done with it. I don't agree with that. Like, as much as I love Korg, he's a funny guy, but in Love and Thunder, I thought he was super obnoxious. It was like you could have taken him out the movie, and that would not affect
the whole movie is super obnoxious.
I mean, yeah, but
you said it, not me.
No, I agree with that, but so I don't agree with that. But if they're going to put him in the starring role, that's
no. They specifically said he's going to star in it. They didn't say he's going to be in it.
No, I said it like starring in it. We'll see what happens, but I don't think it has anything to do with him as an actor. I think it's just more or less the characters he puts himself in. Just being there, being obnoxious. So I don't think, we'll see how he writes himself as a lead character, but I don't think that it's necessary. You can always get somebody else, but you're always going to have a Taika Waititi insert somewhere. So
I don't mind him being in the movie.
It's there.
I don't mind him being in the movie, but I don't want him to be the main character if he's going to be the same that he's been in pretty much everything I've seen him in. Yeah. I don't need that.
Something I want from Taika is a kind of more dramatic, serious role to see, how he handles that. Because I feel like there's I'm asking too much. I feel like a lot of comedians out there, and they write comedy and stuff like that, but like they have like a versatility to them where they can turn around and do like a more dramatic role. Adam Sandler. The person that's coming to mind right now is Catherine Hahn, and pretty much everything I've seen her in, she is like the comic relief, or she's like very like silly, goofy, like that's her. And then I saw her in this HBO series called I Know This Much Is True, starring Mark Ruffalo, and it was a way different role than I've ever seen her in, and she was phenomenal. And I was like, yo, like she's a comedian, but like she like flipped the script and she did an amazing job. So I kind of feel like I want to see Taika do that same thing and see how he does.
Mm-hmm. We'll
Because
see.
I might have more faith in what him starring in certain things.
My biggest issue with this news is the fact that Disney clearly does not give a fuck about the Star Wars movies. And I feel like honestly, if Taika Waititi had never worked with Disney before, his would have got shelved too. That's truthfully how I feel. I feel like they, for some reason, they are just afraid to put any effort in making Star Wars movies.
I also
That's
go ahead,
sorry.
Kevin.
That's more of a Disney company issue, not like Disney Studios. It's happened across the board on anything they touch over the last couple of years, especially since the pandemic. I saw a video that a large majority of their profits were from their parks. You eliminate the parks, they're fucking falling off the face of the earth right now. So they're putting no effort into anything, and I think.
But I feel like
That's
it's
a
with Star
situation.
Wars. It's mainly with Star Wars, and the reason I say that is because I have seen so many movies get announced for Star Wars with them attaching directors being like, "Yeah, they're doing a Star Wars movie," and then we don't hear anything about it, and then they're just like, "Yeah, that's not happening anymore."
Well, you can also
Before
say the same
okay.
thing about. Sorry, you can also say the same thing about Marvel, which is at least right now, Kevin Feige is. We hope that he's rectifying it with delaying the projects, and especially with the shows delaying. Two of them probably past the future. But they're just what Disney is doing is just pumping out shit, and they're just using the brand to sell it. They're just using the Star Wars brand to sell the movie. They don't give a shit how it does. They're just saying, "Oh, it's Star Wars. People are gonna go see it." So, "Oh, it's Marvel. People are gonna go see it." "Oh, it's this. They're gonna go see it."
But
So,
no, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm saying I'm frustrated with the fact that they keep greenlighting projects and then they don't go anywhere. And I'm confused about that. Why are you greenlighting and giving directors these roles and then saying no, they're not happening? What the fuck is the point? And then even Taika Waititi's movie, it's still happening, but we haven't heard anything about that movie. We don't know what that. All we know about that movie is that it's not going to be connected to the sequel stuff. That's what we heard. That's it. That's all we know. We don't know where it takes place. We don't know who's going to be in it. And it's like, yeah, these things take time, but this movie's been in development since 2020. It's 3 years, and you don't give me anything other than it's still happening.
You know what I contributed to, and I might be off, but I feel like it's the Rise of Skywalker effect, where
I agree.
Rise of Skywalker was such a huge disappointment to fans, and I feel like they're kind of nervous to put out another movie because their series have worked so well after Rise of Skywalker. They're like, okay, well, we have these movies that we greenlit, but these TV shows are skyrocketing. They're getting the numbers, they're getting the views, the fans love them, and kind of like putting the movies on the back burner. Now, I'm sure there's things going on behind the scenes where these things are getting shelved, but I feel like it's part of it, the Rise of Skywalker effect.
That's what I've been saying this for what feels like years, ever since Mando started. They should just stick to TV. Just stick to TV. Clearly, you are more successful at it. And then I'm gonna be asked, well, why are you complaining about this so much? I'm complaining about it so much because they're greenlighting the movies and then they're not happening. If they never greenlit anything and they were just like, yeah, we're gonna focus on TV, I'd be like, okay. Because truthfully, I don't give a shit about seeing more Star Wars movies. The only reason I care about seeing more Star Wars movies is because you're telling me they're gonna happen.
I do want to see a Star Wars movie in the theater again. I'm waiting for the day.
Like, I'm looking forward to it, but it's not to a point where if I never get it, I'm not gonna care. But again, don't tell me it's gonna happen, and then 2 years later, tell me, oh no, we're not doing that. Yeah,
I think I agree with AJ in a sense that you have the huge, and it goes further back than Rise of Skywalker. Last Jedi, no matter what you think of the movie, you think it's great, you think it's bad, doesn't matter. That was a controversy and a half when that movie came out. Even, I wouldn't say as big, but just as big as Rise of Skywalker has. has done. So I think that if you're going to make Star Wars movies, you have to be really careful at this point, because you're talking about Solo was good, but that was like a throwaway.
That was a shit
People
show and
liked
a
it.
half. With not,
liked
not
it.
the movie, but the
with the
production.
fans. Yeah.
So you're talking about Last Jedi, Rise of Skywalker. You have to be really careful with how you treat a Star Wars movie at this point. Whether it's a solo thing or you're going to turn it into a franchise, you have to be really careful.
They
so I
need
think
to
that,
do everything but turn it into a franchise. They need to just stick to anthology stuff. I
agree. I'm not saying franchise in the sense like you connect it back to Skywalker stuff. I'm
no,
saying
I know what you mean. Like, trilogy shit. We do not need no more Star Wars trilogies. I don't want to see another Star Wars trilogy ever again after the shit show that we got.
But I don't know. It depends on how you accomplish it. You have to be really careful on how you approach the Star Wars movies, because TV shows, they've been doing really well. And if you come back to theaters and then you put out another shit show, then but what can you rectify with that franchise? So it's just, you have to be pretty careful with it.
Emmett, Alex is currently seeing Creed 3. That is why he is not here at the moment. He will be back on Sunday when we do our Scream spoiler review. But yeah, I'm done talking about this. I just, being a Star Wars fan with cinema gets on my last nerve. Do you guys have anything else to add to this?
No,
not really. I guess just I am crossing my fingers for the next Star Wars film theatrical release, because I feel like if they put out another dud, they're kind of toast with that. Like, yeah, the TV shows are good, but like we keep putting out duds for movies, it's gonna be like, no, I'm not gonna go see another Star Wars movie. You kidding me?
If you guys have any other things to talk about, please let us know down below. If you're watching on the replay, let us know how you feel about this Star Wars nonsense. Moving on from one Disney property to the next, we have official casting details for Daredevil Born Again. So I don't want to spend too much time on this because it's not. It is a big deal, but it's not that big of a deal. But so we'll start with the first one, and then we'll get to the other one. So we got it revealed, which I mean, they were not subtle about this at all. They've been talking about this for months, so I wasn't surprised when I saw this announcement, or really the other one, to be honest. But we got the official confirmation that Mr. John Bernthal will be returning as the Punisher in Daredevil Born Again. Now, I still have not seen the lick of Daredevil yet.
Shame.
I only watched season 1.
Shame.
But
season 3 is my favorite.
They've been talking about bringing John Bernthal back for months. So again, when I saw this, I was like, okay, cool. I'm glad that they finally got the confirmation down. How he's gonna fit in this new universe, if you will. But we'll see. But then we got the second confirmation that I can't remember their names for the life. Their
Karen
actors' names.
But
Karen and Foggy are not coming back. The actors anyway.
From the Netflix series.
Which this one I don't understand because, well, I understand it in the sense that they've been talking about the fact that they were not going to come back. But I don't understand it in the sense that these are essential characters to Daredevil. Especially Foggy. That's his best friend. So, what are you going to do?
A recast?
Which I
Recast
don't want that, because from what I've heard, they're great.
They are.
Yeah, the chemistry with those characters and Daredevil, it's really the core foundation of the show. I only watched season 1, but I'm pretty sure that continues in season 2 and 3.
It definitely does.
It's
even in
that
the Punisher show.
Yeah, it's heavily disappointing. So if they get recast, there's a big shoes to fill with those characters and how they interact with Daredevil. So Foggy, at least you have to bring back, no matter who they hire to play him, you have to bring him back. For the and for the Punisher, the only sort of thing I've seen of Punisher are the memes that they created out of him. And
no. Wait.
I loved it. Matter of fact, I loved
I
it.
loved it.
And this one little scene when Daredevil was tied up and they're having that back and forth ideology off. And that really brought me into his character. I really liked it. So, it's cool to have it back depending on how they use it. The way Charlie Cox talks about the series, they're going to really take this seriously. So I'm not concerned on how they're going to execute it. I'm concerned a little bit, but not to the extent of, oh my God, how are they going to mix in the comedy? I think Daredevil is going to be a little bit highly successful than the others, but I'm happy, disappointed. So
I want with Daredevil, as long as they keep what they do in She-Hulk, I don't care. I don't think they're gonna change Punisher really at all. Do I think he's gonna be as dark? No, but I don't think he's gonna have comedy to him. I think he's gonna be straightforward, like Winter Soldier or something. But I don't think it's gonna be the same way they've changed Daredevil to where he's serious, but there's also jokes. I think what they did in She-Hulk was pretty good. So if you just keep that and then maybe dial back a little bit on the seriousness with Punisher, but don't make it to where it's jokey, which again, I don't think they're going to do. I think it'll be fine.
Yeah, I feel like you said, I think a great comparison is Winter Soldier with Punisher, how they're going to handle Punisher. Daredevil, I'm kind of nervous about that because what we've seen in She-Hulk, while kind of funny, it does not fit that Marvel Netflix tone. And not saying that it has to be that way, but that's why I grew to love that character. Because of his tone, he does have like a little bit of a comedic way about him. But what's going on, man? But yeah, like he does have like a little bit of a comedic way about him in the Marvel Netflix show, but very little. So I am actually kind of nervous about how they're gonna do Daredevil, but
I think if this show turns out semi decent, I think we can all finally breathe.
I just hope so. I'm crossing my
the
fingers.
Pieces, the pieces are in place. You got Charlie Cox, Vincent D'Onofrio, John Berthal. The pieces are there. Apparently, Elektra's coming back to the demise of a lot of people. I don't know. I can't say nothing about that. But yeah, I don't have strong feelings about this because I haven't really watched it that much. I've watched maybe like 3 episodes of it. But we'll see. All I'll say is we'll see. If anyone has anything to say about this in the comments, please let us know. Moving on to the only trailer we got this week before we talk about our big 3 topics. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem trailer has been released. I was very excited for this. The development of this movie has been very interesting to me. We got concept art for it, and then we found out that the same animators behind Mitchell's and the Mitchells versus the Machines were animating this movie, and my interest for this went because if you guys have not seen that movie, please do so. That movie is great, and the animation in that movie is phenomenal. So, yeah, I was interested in this. Adding Ninja Turtles with that animation, I was very excited for this. And then we got the casting announcements, and I was like, oh, all right. This is a loaded cast. I mean loaded. And I'm not even talking about the voice acting. I'm talking about the people, the villains in this movie. You got Bebop and Rocksteady, Splinter, like basically it feels like every single Ninja Turtles villain that's not Kang and Shredder is in this movie, which I'm assuming they're saving Shredder for the next movie if we get another one. But yeah, and then we got you know, they were like, "Oh yeah, the teaser's coming." We got a little teaser at the Kids Choice Awards, which I didn't even know the Kids Choice Awards were still a thing. But you know, we got a little teaser there, and I was like, "Oh shoot, okay." And then we got the trailer on Monday, and my excitement went down here. Listen, I will say this: the animation is stellar. It is exactly what I visualized for this movie. It looks, a lot of people said Spider-Verse. Yes, that's what they're going for. The animation looks great, and I'm still excited to see what they will do with that animation combining with the Ninja Turtles franchise. I think that'll be fantastic. And I like some of the vibe they're going for. However, I don't like the tone of this movie at all. And maybe it's because they did not make it known, but this movie legitimately looks to me like it's made for 5-year-olds. And I'm not interested in it being like that. Now, granted, it is a teaser. I'm keeping my reservations for the main trailer because I'm assuming that's when we'll see all our villains and all the crazy shit that's going to be in this movie. But as of right now, I'm walking in rather hesitant because this movie seems like it's made for 5-year-olds. It's not made for people who love the original Ninja Turtles or even for the people that liked the 2014 Ninja Turtles. The movie is amazing. Um yeah, my interest for this has kind of dwindled. How did you guys feel about the trailer?
I'll let Kevin go.
Oh, all right. Because I heard your opinion on this, so I think I'm gonna have the only differing opinion here. First of all, the animation. I have to give a lot of credit to the animators over at Spider-Verse because they changed the animation industry a lot. Because it started with them, and it's the animation has slowly improved. We've seen DreamWorks completely shift their animation style with the Bad Guys and Puss in Boots, and we have you guys have seen Mitchell's versus Machines. I haven't, but you know, and then seeing the animation in this trailer, I love how what this new animation age has, and I very much appreciate that. As far as the trailer itself, I like it, not in the sense that it's the greatest thing ever, but it really did feel like they forgot the teenage part of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Um, I don't know if I don't. It's hard to tell. I don't know if there's a specific time in them being the heroes that they are, whether or not they're still in the beginning. Because if they're in the beginning, that would feel a little bit more believable that they're acting like kids. It's probably the first time they're doing all this. But if this is like they've been at it for a while, then I'm a little bit concerned. I feel like they need to have a little bit more maturity to them. But I'm not completely upset. It really depends on how long they've been doing heroics for. So, and once I don't know if that's already been said, but once I get that confirmation, I'll have my certain full opinion on it. But as far as the vibe of it, it's cool. So if it's a beginner movie, but I hope there's a little bit more maturity in the next movie, at least a little bit. I understand that they're acting like kids, they're having a lot of fun, but I hope there's a little bit more maturity to them, and maybe that's the direction that they're going with, just making them more mature. But we'll see.
My issue is everyone was like when they revealed who's voicing everybody and they saw the turtles, they were like, "Oh wow, they're voiced by kids. That's cool." And I was like, "Really? It's cool now when that Donnie sounds like a 5-year-old?" I don't like that at all. They don't sound like teenagers. They sound like 8-year-olds to me. I don't like that at all. You know, yes, they were voiced by adults in the 2014 one, but at least they sounded like adults. I don't like the way they sound at all. But well, Leo and Mikey sound fine, but like it's mainly Donnie. I don't like his voice at all. I heard like the dialogue coming out of his mouth. I'm like, why does he fucking sound like that? You know, like, and it sucks because what happens in the trailer is funny. Like the comedy in the trailer is funny. I did like that. but like I don't know. I the voices is really what threw me off. Alec, AJ, how do you feel about this?
I actually didn't get a chance to check out the trailer. I did have a chance to, but I just didn't. After you told me about how you felt about it, I was like, okay, I'll watch it before the stream. I'll watch it before the stream. Never did, but I do want to comment on the voice cast because it is stacked. I want to kind of list them off. We got Paul Rudd, Giancarlo Esposito, Rose Byrne, Jackie Chan,
John Cena.
John Cena, Seth Rogen, Maya Rudolph, Ice Cube, Post Malone, Hannibal Buress. It is a stacked voice cast, and I admire that. Hopefully, they don't overshadow each other. With when you have a strong voice cast like this, sometimes
they're not gonna overshadow each other. They're gonna overshadow the turtles.
Yeah, that's that too. But yeah, that's one thing that I am a little nervous about with it. As far as the tone, as you say, I hope it doesn't fall into that category of a little bit younger directed to younger kids, but I think with these type of films that are taking old content and bringing them for the next generation, it kind of falls into that a little bit. We got the same thing with Tom and Jerry. We also got the same thing with what's the other thing? Oh, Scoob. They tried to age it down, and it wasn't really meant for the people that were into that, those projects or that content, when they were younger. It's not really directed towards them. So I feel like that's kind of how this is going too. So hopefully it turns out fine.
For one, I don't think this is going to be as bad as what you just said, but
I hope not.
I sincerely hope not, because I'm actually looking forward to this. I was not looking forward to the other two movies, but my issue is they're clearly trying to be Spider-Verse, and especially when you see how many villains from the Ninja Turtles Rogue Gallery are in this movie, but the difference is that movie is not strictly for kids. Clearly, because
you talking about Spider-Verse?
Yeah. Because clearly we love that movie. It's one of my favorite comic book movies ever. If it was as kiddie as this trailer is, we'd be like, it's fine. Yeah. So, it's trying to be Spider-Verse, but it also doesn't have the tone of Spider-Verse. And I think it needs the tone of Spider-Verse. That's my biggest issue is the tone. Again, also, I will not comment on April O'Neil longer than this sentence. I hate the design of her, and it's not because of her race. I just don't like the design at all. I think she looks really weird, but that's neither here nor there. Yeah, I'm kind of done talking about this because we got a lot to talk about. I know somebody said, Brian Scott. What's going on, Brian? He said he did not like the trailer either. Most Ninja Turtles fans liked it. I don't know. I'm not really feeling this, and it's a shame. If anybody has anything, what?
Yeah, I was gonna say. So I had to look this up real quick just to confirm it. It is in fact a beginner kind of road trip. These Ninja Turtles this is quite literally their first time out. So I think that kind of helps the tone a little bit. I do agree that Donnie didn't sound a little bit too young. Everyone else was fine. Donnie sounded a little bit too young. For me,
I don't like Raph either. Raph should sound like Batman, kind of, and he does not sound like that at all.
But being that this is a beginner one, and it even says in the synopsis that they get in over their heads, I think this is very clearly. I feel like the plot is very clearly the fact that they weren't supposed to have gone out as soon as they did, but I don't think that. Hearing this now, I think that it could work a little bit better, but again, we'll see for the main trailer.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. If anybody has any other thoughts on the Mutant Mayhem trailer, let us know down below. Moving on to one of our big three topics for today, Bel Air Season 2, Episode 2 has been released on Peacock. Came out on Thursday. Um, we talked about episode 1 last week. Go check that out if you haven't already. Um, good episode, very good.
Solid.
This show continues to be great. Um, it pains me that nobody's talking about it other than us. I wish we could change that, but
Yeah.
I don't want to go too heavy into this because we got a whole movie to talk about and The Last
Another
of Us.
episode. Mhm.
So, but I will just say I really like this episode. I think it progressed a lot of things nicely from last week. There's one thing that kind of bummed me out is the fact that it seems like everything carrying over from season 1, they are making it a mission to get rid of it instantly. um, especially with Jeffrey. I was
Mhm.
like, okay, I guess he's back in the house now. All right, we're one big happy family again. All right, let's go. Just like, all right, that
Yeah.
kind of draws back on the finale a little bit, but all right,
They
but
did that first episode as well with Will.
It's not too big of a deal to me because it's good. It'd be
Mhm.
it'd be another thing if they did it and it sucked,
Mhm.
But good stuff. AJ, what did you think of episode 2?
Episode 2, I liked it even better than the first episode of the season. I think, like you said, things progressed well. Although I would have liked to seen a little bit more conflict with Jeffrey and Uncle Phil. Same with last week's episode where I wanted to see a little bit more depth and conflict with Will and Uncle Phil. Uncle Phil is just kind of the enemy at that point. But they pretty much all make nice, and then we kind of get into these new stories. We have the original actress who played Ashley kind of playing a major part. Like I thought she was kind of going to be a cameo, but she seems like she's going to be a little bit bigger than that in this season. She is the character Ashley in this show's teacher, and we saw that there was some conflict there with some of the other students, and she got fired for something, and I don't know if we're going to dive into that, but she got fired, and they're kind of like trying to make it a mission to like get her rehired and make sure this kind of stuff doesn't happen again and stuff like that. So that looks like it's going to be a major plot point moving forward, and I like it. I like that a lot. I feel like this is the perfect show and tone for this type of thing to happen. So I'm looking forward to that. And one thing, there's two storylines here that I don't absolutely love yet, or I don't know if I will, but it's the one with Hillary and Ivy. It's her roommate,
She's getting
where
on my nerves.
she kind of is getting bullied. Hillary is kind of getting bullied into doing things that she doesn't really want to do. She's not really standing up for herself. I know this is creating an arc for Hillary, but just those scenes are not as engaging as I wanted them to be. Also, there's a thing going on with Aunt Viv where her art is being taken, and somebody else's name is being put on her art, and she's trying to rectify that, and that is not the most engaging storyline either.
That I can't really. I'm loving that stuff. When she was like, "I don't need him," I said, "Yeah, on Viv, fuck him up, bro."
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, I wish I felt that way with those scenes, but everything with Will, I'm into. Everything with Carlton, I'm into. Ashley, those storylines are really working for me. I want to see what Jeffrey. I know they're gonna have a huge thing with Jeffrey going on in this season, so I'm ready to see that too. I'm just ready for more, man. Like I love this show. I'm really enjoying it so far, and I'm ready to see what's to come.
Yeah. This was good stuff. I don't really have any negatives. Yeah, good stuff. I love the ending where Will was like, I'm gonna do what I want. And I was like, good, because these kids suck. Good. If anyone else has seen Bel Air season 2, episode 2, and wants to let us know how you felt, please do so in the comments. Here we go. The Last of Us episode 8 review. I'm gonna call it winter. I know it's not called winter, but it's winter, essentially winter.
Yeah.
So, for those who don't know, this is the segment called Winter in the game where Ellie is out on her own and she meets up with David, and it leads to some shenanigans. So, I'm gonna start with the positives and go into my biggest issues. And we are not going into high detail. I want to, but I really want to talk about Creed, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I'm more focused on Creed than this. Bella Ramsey is incredible in this show. That is factual information, like the sky being blue at this point. She is incredible. And she was incredible in this episode, without a doubt. Pacing of this episode was good. It didn't feel long, for better and for worse, but it was good pacing nonetheless. The last 10 minutes of this episode was good. Very good, especially with how they changed the ending of this storyline. I liked it a lot. The scene with Joel at the end was incredible, very emotional, and very well handled. I thought Troy Baker was very good in this episode. That was kind of the big thing going into this. Very good. I thought he was very good. I want to see him do more live action stuff. I think it was good. The stuff with Joel from the game, what was in it anyway, was good. Yeah, that's where my positives stop.
It's a good amount of positives, though.
You're right. My biggest issue with okay. How did you guys feel about the episode before I get into that?
I'll let Kevin go, and then I'll go.
It's okay, I guess. I know my negatives are going to be the same as Tyler's, or at least some of them. The big one. One of my bigger negatives is the pacing between episode 7 and episode 8, because we see Ellie trying to save Joel the best she possibly can, and in the next episode we see her go out on her own and kill a deer, and then we jump right into this one. I don't know. It feels weird because at least in the game we had the time skip telling us it's been a while, where we had that little nice scene of Ellie, trying to survive on her own, killing a rabbit, killing a deer. I don't think that adding that little extra scene in the beginning of her tending to Joel and then going out on her own, that it feels like we're just cutting right into the next one, without telling us that there's a time skip. Because when you have time skips, you don't want to tell us immediately how everyone is doing, how everything is going. You want to jump right into it and make it pretty obvious that there's a time skip. So I think that adding that scene of Ellie tending to Joel pretty much eliminates all the tension that we built going into the time skip. So I wasn't that big a fan of that. And also in the game, if I'm not mistaken, she gets the medicine first and then we see Joel. If I remember correctly. I don't remember if that's how it was. That probably is the case.
I think that's the case.
But other than that, it's the same thing as last episode. It's the same thing as episode 6. It's the same thing as episode 3. This episode on its own was not bad. I really loved it. I loved basically everything about it. It's just the same constant issue of the Last of Us show overall. It's just that there's hardly anything affected. But other than that, this was a really good episode. I really loved Bella Ramsey. She's been fucking phenomenal in this episode. But again, that's my only negative, and it's just a big overarching negative of the show, not on the episode itself. So that I'll leave alone.
AJ.
I'm gonna say this right here and now. I absolutely loved this episode. I think it was very well crafted, very well paced, very well acted and written. Um, I think I only have one issue, which won't be a lot of people's issues, but um, as a man of faith, I feel like a lot of movies and shows try to add that to show a twisted narrative, and it was offensive to me. But other than that, I really thought it was very solid, a very solid episode. David was as scary as he needed to be in this episode, and this is probably the first episode of the series where, before I went into it, I said I'm going to put all of my expectations to the side, all of my comparisons to the game aside, because I know that I've been not enjoying it as much as I could have if I had done that each episode. Like, this is a show. Yes, it is an adaptation, but it's also a series. It's not the same exact thing, and let's let them get as creative as they want to, or not add as much as they want to. I think as an episode, it worked. The infected not being there, if I were to compare this episode to the game, the infected not being there would bother me to no end. I probably would give this episode a 6. But as far as it being a show, separating that, I thought it just worked so well. Especially when we get to the end where Ellie is fighting for her life. She's scared, and she takes down David in the most brutal way, and Bella Ramsey killed it, literally. She did. So I don't believe I have very many negatives for this episode at all, and I know you guys feel differently, but that's what all I have to say about it. I love this episode.
I'll jump in before Tyler goes on his rant because I know that's coming. There's another issue that I have. I guess you could call it a nitpick. I did feel like this episode went a little bit too fast for me. It's not necessarily in terms of pacing being garbage or anything, but it did kind of irk me a little bit. And this is the kind of issue that I had with ever since Tyler sent me that episode, how many episodes it was going to have, how long each one was going to be. I don't know how accurate that's been so far, but when he sent me that, I told him I was worried about the show because I felt like there's a lot of content that they could have filled up. I think what made the first episode work as well as it did is that it was like, was that the episode was that it was over an hour long. And I think that's been kind of an issue with this show because I feel like there's a lot of things that you could fit within that. For example, in this episode, Joel coming back felt too fast compared to the show, compared to the game. I think that, had we added like an extra 10, 15 minutes, kind of padding on a little bit more on Ellie's relationship with David, because in the game there was a little bit of a mission where, they did have somewhat of a bonding moment when they were just trying to survive. So I think that because that was effectively eliminated and John and Joel coming back, that did feel a little bit too fast for me. Like, it was just like, oh yeah, he's back and now he's killing people and just traveling about. So that was a little issue I did take part with. But yeah, other than that, that's like the only nitpick I have. So you can go ahead, Tyler.
Druckmann, I need to ask you something, bro. Do you not have any budget for the infected anymore? I'm just curious. Did you like? I made the joke 2 weeks ago saying, "Oh, they wasted all the budget for the infected on episode 5 with that horde." Did you fucking really waste all the budget? Because we have seen no infected since episode 5, other than the one in Left Behind. And for the people that want to tell me, "Oh, well, this show is not only about the infected," you're absolutely right. It's not only about the infected. But when this show has been nothing but essentially a soap opera in the apocalypse, and the whole game is not that, and it's been based off not only the human stuff, but the infected, I'm going to get fucking annoyed with that. And I've been annoyed for the past 3 weeks. And I am honestly feeling like people are sitting here afraid to say things about the show because everyone is so positive about it. I'm definitely not, so I'm gonna fucking say it. Them taking the infected sequence out of this episode completely killed the episode for me. And it's funny too, because I fucking expected that. I called it last week. I was like, they're gonna take the infected sequence out of the show. And they fucking did it anyway. And the reason why I'm saying that is it's mainly not because they took it out. It's what I'm trying to say is the reason that I'm upset about it is because to me it derailed the whole story. To me, the reason why I love the winter part is Ellie meets David and that whole thing goes down. And it's like, okay, fine. And then they go and fight the infected. And that part is really cool. And they build a bond, kind of. And she starts to trust him. And I really like that. And then we find out, oh no, he's actually not who he says he is. It's actually like it's a coup, like they're trying to get her or whatever. Or well, no, it's like a coincidence, whatever. But point is, like now he has an interest in getting her, and that's fucking terrifying. It's like, oh shit, like okay. And then we get the things that happen, and it means more because they knew each other. When this went down in this episode, it meant zero to me because they had literally just met. It meant nothing to me. They were just strangers. And I'm not saying that they had a 5-year relationship in the game, but it felt like they kind of knew each other. And that's what made it more impactful to me. When this happened, I was just like, okay. It meant nothing to me. And because of that, it left a sour taste in my mouth the whole episode. And I've seen a lot of people say, I really like David. I thought David was scarier here than he was in the game. I can't relate. I didn't really care for David at all. And he was fine. The acting wasn't bad at all. But they're just something about it to me. Just he wasn't menacing to me at all. I was like, she's going to beat him no problem. I don't know. This episode just really did nothing for me. It was okay. And honestly, it got on my nerves. It really did. How they want to take out the infected and just have it be all about the actors. And that's not what the fucking game was. And for those that want to tell me, oh, well, that's because it's gameplay. That doesn't matter. When the infected first showed up in episode 2, I think episode 2, that was the highlight of that episode. Now, granted, that episode wasn't that great, but it was still the highlight of the episode. The highlight of episode 5 is when that big zombie horde comes and the fucking bloaters show up for the first time. Those are the most memorable parts of the show for me. I've had none of that in the past 3 weeks. And it sucks. I'm kind of underwhelmed and bored with this show right now. The show is just doing nothing, but it's essentially just a highlight reel of all the cutscenes with the humans from the game at this point. It's not adding the intensity and horror that the game has. It's just them walking around and talking. And to me, that's not what The Last of Us was. Most of it was that game, yes, but the infected added to it. There's nothing added to this right now. It's just, let's focus on our actors. Let's focus on our acting so we can get our awards. That's what this show is coming off as to me. And I might be in a minority. Quite frankly, I don't give a shit. But that's how I truthfully feel about this show right now. And I'm actually terrified walking into the finale next week because Bella Ramsey said, "Oh yeah, the finale is going to be divisive." Based off the trailer, I can see that because it does not look like the finale to the game at all. In parts, it does. Other parts, it doesn't. And the other issue, which Kevin mentioned before, why are these episodes so goddamn short? Why? I swear to Jesus, if I see the runtime for next week's finale under 60 minutes, I'm going to be shitting myself before I press play. I don't get it. I don't get it. I've been saying the same shit for 3 weeks already. Why are these episodes so short? They are able to manage the pacing of this show. So why are we not getting episodes longer than an hour? I don't get it. I don't get it. I'm the only one with these issues. I don't care. I'm allowed to have them. That's how I felt about The Last of Us. I'm ready to move on if you guys are too. But that's how I feel.
I will say this. I said this last week, so I guess this is going to be another reiterating point. And I guess I'll add a new point too. Shit.
Are you serious?
But I'll just get to my point before we touch on that. The show creator said in episode 2 that in the behind the scenes clip they have of it, the infected are obstacles, and I 100% agree. The infected are meant to be obstacles, and I think that what made episode 5 as great as it was, it's not just the fact that the infected were there. It's the fact that there's the human conflict between, our characters, but we also remember that there's an apocalypse going on, and you can't just have a battle out in the open without taking into account that there are going to be infected. Like, make that an obstacle. Make that something that, both sides are going to have issues with. And because of the actions that we see in their arcs throughout their episodes, it makes it much more impactful because we see in episode 5, I forgot her name already, but we know her character is just like, she's so driven by this revenge. She doesn't give a shit about the infected. As long as it doesn't kill her, she don't give a fuck. She tells somebody, go ahead, go kill the infected. She's still going after revenge without ignoring that there was an infected that came after her and eventually killed her. So I think that the way they handled calling the infected obstacles was very poorly handled ever since episode 5. It feels like they're not obstacles anymore. They're just inconveniences.
They're props.
So it's just how it is. I think that, and I had this issue with a lot of shows recently, this episodic format that we seem to have taken into account with series. I really hate that, especially in The Flash, in other TV shows as well. I hate this episodic format where you can just say, well, hop into the episode. If you know the show before, there's other context to be added, but on its own, you can just watch it. If I told somebody, hop into episode 8, they won't necessarily have a clue about it. Now, granted, they probably will know that there's an apocalypse happening, but they'll just know that there's shit happening. So I think that's their main issue, is that they pretend that that this game is more than the infected, but the issue is that having that infected as the obstacle kind of forces our characters to make decisions that are fit well with their characters, fit well with their arcs, fit well with their story. And I truthfully believe the same with episode 6, the same with episode 8 especially. I feel like these either should have been over an hour or 2 episodes. That's my opinion on it. I think that's how they should have done it.
If you showed somebody episode 8 and didn't tell them what the show was and just told them it was an apocalyptic show, they'd be like, what are you talking about? This isn't an apocalyptic show. It's a show about a girl stranded in the woods or the forest, whatever. I don't know. The show is getting on my last nerve, to be honest. It's not bad by any means, but it's more frustrating. It's very frustrating, actually. And I have every right to compare it to the game. The game is doing it better. The first half of this show, to me, was near flawless. Everything since episode 5, I don't know what the fuck they're doing. They went on record and said, oh yeah, when we take things out, we're going to put things in that benefit the show more. And the show started out like that. especially with the Bill and Frank episode. Now you're just taking shit out and not putting anything back. You literally took out a chunk of that story and didn't put anything back. Let us know down below how you guys feel about Last of Us Episode 8. We will be here not Sunday, but next Tuesday talking about the finale, which should be interesting nonetheless. Moving on to our final big topic for the evening, Creed 3 spoiler review. If you guys have not seen Creed 3, do not want to be spoiled, please exit the venue kindly. We will be talking about Creed 3 in full detail. I actually don't want to go beat for beat because it's already 9 o'clock and I kind of want to, but let's talk about Creed 3. First of all, let's go around the table and talk about how we felt about Creed 3. We'll get into our positives and all that nonsense. No, we are best friends. Since third grade. Since third grade.
You got the matching glasses, bro.
What's up, Carlos Solo? Yeah. So Creed 3. What?
Oh, all right. I thought you were gonna say something. I loved Creed 3. I fucking loved it. And I think the moment I knew I was gonna love it was the final fight of Adonis's career. When we saw him face up against the guy he faced in his first match.
Oh, you mean the first fight? I was about to say, I knew it from the first fight.
Conley.
From the very first fight, I was like, the way Michael B. Jordan directed that fight was incredible. And that's pretty much how it was throughout the rest of all other fights in the movie. He directed it with such a kind of style that we didn't see in the first two Creeds. And I guess it's because he did say it. He was very inspired by anime, which it was pretty obvious in that final fight. And I guess that's
right up your alley.
I love, watching these fights. It did feel like anime in the sense of, there are different angles that they show, different moments with our characters that, especially in the last fight where they had that round 3 to 11, where they really felt like they was going at it, both not physically but mentally too. So I think that these fights were directed very well, and I think that was the major highlight of this movie for me. That's not to take away from the actual story itself. I think the story was absolutely great, the way they took it. One of the minor gripes I had with the first two Creeds, and I don't know if it's the same throughout the 6 Rocky movies. I felt like we should have had more with our main antagonist, with Creed 1 and 2.
Feels that way. Well, not the Rocky movies, but the Creed movies.
So I feel like, when we have a guy who came from Adonis's past, who has this kind of relationship with him before and still has this relationship now, I think that made this movie so much more flawless, because it made me feel for both characters involved. Michael B. Jordan, I talked about him as a director. As an actor, he's as great as always. He's menacing. He's very caring, and I really did like the direction they took with him, talking about that. There's issues inside him that he feels too masculine he feels too manly to talk about it, and it took until the tragic fate of his mother dying for him to really open up about this kind of stuff, and that gave him the resolve to start this fight. So I think that in that direction, he knocked it out of the park. Jonathan Majors, put him on any antagonist role, and he'll just knock it out of the park at this point. As Kang, as freaking I don't know why I forgot his name already. In Creed 3,
Damien.
There you go. As Damien, it's just it makes it all the more better to know that Jonathan Majors, as long as he's the antagonist, I'll know that he'll rock the seas. So I think that makes it all the more better. So overall, I love this movie. I love the direction they took. A completely different tone from the first two Creed movies, and I won't be upset. And I'm really excited to see what Michael B. Jordan does. Learning from the experience. Like, this was his directorial debut. I can't wait to see what he learns from this experience and takes it into Creed 4. But overall, this was a phenomenal movie, and it was a pretty short runtime. I didn't really feel it; it went by fast. It's not to say it was bad, but I really wanted more. So, yeah, I'll let you guys go ahead.
AJ,
I'll go. Directorial debut of Michael B. Jordan. He rocked it, man. He rocked this movie. I love the direction. The writing was chef's kiss. Like Kevin was saying, with the choreography and the fight sequences, man, like the attention to detail is what mattered in this film. It was, I was kind of blown away. We've never seen this type of thing in the Rocky franchise or the Creed movies. So, it's doing something different. I loved it. That third act, I feel like might be a little divisive among folks. Me and my wife went to go see it together, and she said she felt like it was a little too much. It was a little, that it was a lot to take in, with the, the crowd not being there, and the lights, and then the cage, and the, all that. It was a little disorienting for her. I personally loved it. I loved all that stuff. I thought it added a lot to the sequences. But once we get, putting that aside, the fighting was amazing. This movie is near perfect for me, but a gripe that I did have is I wish we would have dove more into the characters a little bit, especially the one that was lacking to me was Bianca. And I feel like Adrian felt so much more significant in the Rocky movies than Tessa Thompson's character feels in the series. And I don't know why that is, because I think Tessa Thompson, she's a great actress. I think she can bring it, but with this particular role in all three movies, I felt like they kind of sideline her a little bit, and I just see the potential there, so that kind of irks me a little bit. But I think with why do I want to say Claire Huxtable, Felicia Rashad, his mom, Adonis's mom, that relationship was great. They did kind of like this foreshadowing, like, yeah, she's gonna be gone soon. So kind of, embrace that and embrace her. And that scene broke me when she was like, Adonis.
bro.
Adonis. Yo, my stomach clenched on that scene, man. Eyes got a little misty and everything. But that was great. Jonathan Majors, man. He's on the come up, man. I did see him in Lovecraft Country. It was an HBO series that aired in 2020. Phenomenal, actor, and I'm ready to see this man in more things, not just the MCU, not just the Creed movies. I want to see him in more content, standalone content.
Apparently, he got casted in a movie that is supposedly supposed to be directed by one Mr. Spike Lee.
Interesting. I'm interested in that. I'm definitely interested in that. I like Spike Lee's movies. But yeah, Jonathan Majors, man, he was fantastic as Dame. And I think there were like a few scenes where I felt like the dialogue was off. I don't feel like it was in anybody's fault, any of the actors' fault. I feel like it was the way that the scene was written and how the dialogue was written. But other than that, I thought this performance was flawless. I thought the direction of the characters and the relationship, the chemistry between the characters were fantastic. So yeah, Jonathan. That's Jonathan Majors. And what's the daughter's name? Amira. I
Amara.
think her Amara. Um, she was great. I was kind of a little bit nervous. Like she's a new actress. You know, she's new. She's very young, and you sometimes you don't know what you're gonna get. You know, when you have those young actresses and actors, but you know, she kind of blew it out of the park. She, you know, the sign language that really like if it wasn't there, if we didn't get that, I think it would have definitely made a difference. I think it really changed things and made things more heartfelt. So I see her being the future of the Creed movies, maybe. Um,
Oh
they
yeah.
kind of hinted at that at the end where Adonis is kind of teaching her how to fight, and he kind of does that throughout the movie though. He kind of teaches her how to fight, and kind of just teaching her things, and he's actually learning things as well from being her father and dealing with things with her school and stuff like that. So I love all of that stuff too. So yeah, I feel like I pretty much covered everything that I thought about the movie, but it was a phenomenal film. I cannot wait to check it out again.
Yeah, man. I this is easily, easily the best movie of 2023 so far.
The
Not
bar,
that
the
this
bar wasn't
year,
low.
huh?
The bar wasn't that high.
Yeah,
You had to be
not that
you had to
this
be like an
year.
8.
Yeah, not that this year has been as disappointing to me as 2022 was. To me, 2022 was astronomically disappointing in a lot of aspects. So far this year, I haven't seen a movie that like truly, maybe Knock at the Cabin truly let me down. That's the worst movie I've seen this year, but even that movie is not terrible. It's
You
very
like Sick
disappointing.
more than Knock at the Cabin?
Oh, well, I didn't put that in 2023. I put that in 2022.
Oh, okay, okay.
Um, but yeah, so let's get into it. So, first of all, I wanted to shout. I forgot the actress's name. I gave her the first shout out in my review because she was incredible.
The daughter, right?
Um, Mila Davis Kent. She was absolutely incredible in this movie, and the
That's the
reason I
daughter,
shouted,
correct?
yeah,
Okay, okay.
and the reason I shouted out her first is because if she is deaf, which I'm assuming she is, I don't know why you'd get a non-deaf person to play a deaf character. I don't know an instance where that happened. Um, so let's assume she's deaf. If she is deaf, I know how hard it must be to act when you essentially can only act in sign language, and it would take a lot of work because you have to convey emotion not through words but through your emotions and your facial expressions. And she is phenomenal. Her, you got the girl from A Quiet Place too. They're both incredible, and I loved her in this movie so much. Kudos to her. Her relationship with Donnie and really everybody was amazing. It's just incredible. Every scene with her on it, I was glued to the screen because she was just amazing. The story in this movie I really liked a lot. I really liked that this felt really different from the other Rocky movies. This didn't feel like something we've seen 1,000 times. I thought the pacing of the movie was very good. The fights, man. Me and Kevin saw this in IMAX. To me, that is the quintessential movie, the way to see this movie. Even John saw this in IMAX. Bro. When they said filmed for IMAX, they fucking meant filmed for IMAX. The first fight in this movie, I said, holy shit. It was IMAX enhanced and everything. And I'm praying somehow that the 4K for this is IMAX enhanced. I don't think we'll get it, but I hope because it fucking deserves it. I will even wait longer to have this on 4K if it means that this 4K will be IMAX enhanced because holy shit, I need that. Um again, the story I really liked. The setup for everything was cool. Um, the one thing that kind of bugged me about this movie was how they handled his mom. As soon as they revealed in the beginning that she was sick, I was like, "Oh, she's so dead in this movie."
Mhm.
I called that a mile away. Now it still hit me when it happened, but when they did it, I wasn't surprised. I was like, "Oh,
You
damn,
want to be taken off guard with that.
yeah." But that's fine. I figured it had to happen at some point in this franchise. But I do agree. My biggest negative would probably be Bianca, how they handled her. She felt like she was barely in this movie with everything that was going on. And I feel like we only really got one scene with her that, made any impact. And it was the scene towards the end when she was talking to Donnie and was like, "What is going on with you?"
Mhm.
And that kind of felt like an obligation scene. And it's disappointing. I love Tessa Thompson. She's an incredible actress, and I love her in the first two, especially the first one. I love her. So that was disappointing. Really, that's the only disappointment I had in this movie. The soundtrack is great. Well, not as good as the first two. Really good stuff. Training montage, it's a staple of the franchise, definitely.
Pulling the
This
plane, man. Pulling the
training,
plane.
man. While that was awesome, I don't know how you top that. But that was awesome.
Mhm.
And the fights, man, the fights are just immaculate. The third act fight, I know it is divisive. I've seen many people be like, I don't like anime, so I don't like the fight.
Mhm. I've
Okay,
seen that a few times.
be boring then. I don't care. I loved it. It's bold. I will give it that. It's bold, and
Yes.
I can see where Stacy's coming from, where she says that it's a little much. I felt that a little bit when, like I really loved when the whole arena was empty and they were fighting. That was really cool. When the cage was coming down, I was like, I like that, but that's a little
Mm.
much.
Mhm. Then they
Um,
kind of turn back to kids sitting in each
I
corner.
like that. I did like
I
that.
did too. I did too. It's different. It's
It's
very
different.
different.
That's what I like too. It's different.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, they did that, and that's the theme of this movie is different. This
Mhm.
movie's very different. This feels like it has its own style. Even the first two Creed movies, they still feel like they are attached to Rocky. This movie
Mhm.
has nothing. This movie feels like a Creed movie. You
Mhm.
know, and I really liked it. I did. In terms of the future of this franchise, they 100% are going to make the next movie about Amara because I don't know what the hell you're going to do with Creed at all. I feel like you've done everything. You
Retire.
had him retire, come out of retirement, win again.
Yeah.
I
You
think
know,
um, as far as Amara and Bianca, I do agree that they should have done more. I think that Adonis coming out of retirement, it's funny to me because you're just like, you have this beef between two old friends, and then they know they have to fight each other. So I just found it hilarious when he essentially went on national television on ESPN in that first take show, um, and essentially just called him out, and then they just had a live chat between Damon and Adonis, and they're just like, "All right, bro, let's fight." They pulled Creed out of retirement for this one fight.
The one thing I was
I
thinking during real quick, the one thing I was thinking
I know
during
what
that
you're
scene,
gonna
I was
say.
like, how he get that number?
Oh, I thought you were gonna
Anyway, go
say. I was thinking of. I have been hoodwinked, bamboozled, bro. I
like
saw
how he
this
get
man pop on the screen. I said, "Oh Jesus
Stephen?
Christ!"
I was
How did he
I love
get
Stephen
Stephen A.
A,
Smith?
but I was disappointed to see that Max Kellerman wasn't there. I really hope.
Bro, they
I think Max
listen.
Kellerman should have worked better.
I love the man to the earth and back for pleasuring me with all his memes.
He's hilarious.
But I found it distracting that he was in this movie, and
It
it's
was a
not
little
his. It's
distracting.
not his fault. It's really not his fault. It's
Yeah.
it's honestly not. It's
It's
just
the internet.
It's the internet's fault. The whole time you got this dramatic scene, and I'm just hearing him in his head. We don't care. We don't care. That's all I was hearing. I'm like, I was kind of waiting for the scene to be over. I'm like, oh my god, like it's so distracting.
Yeah.
But that scene was good though.
Yeah. But yeah, I think what they could have done, because I know Creed, because you can't take Adonis out of retirement again unless he just full blown decided that he was going to continue fighting after beating Dame just to defend his title. But unless you go that route, which if they do, I think that would be pretty freaking dumb. I really enjoyed the little bit with him and Felix, I think his name was. Something like that.
Yeah.
Felix. I really like that little bit when, they're showing a new direction in his life, trying to be a mentor. And I told Tyler this when we came out. I think Creed 4 would be more suited as kind of a Cars 3 situation, because in Cars 3, you see that Lightning McQueen, he was basically forced into retirement, and he had to mentor this new character.
Did you see Cars 3?
No, I was like, you're going to have to enlighten me.
in Cars 3, Lightning McQueen was essentially forced to retire, and he didn't want to retire, but at the end he kind of accepted the fact that he was washed, and he just basically had someone that we've seen throughout the movie.
I don't know what they do in Cars 3. What they do is fine, but they essentially, the first two acts of the movie are one thing, and it's building to something, and then the third act just and throws it away, and which pissed me off royally. I was like, the whole movie was pointless.
I get what you're saying,
that was Kevin. But in terms of
see the comparison,
but I think that the direction they need to take the Creed franchise is essentially turning Creed into a mentor, into the guy on the sidelines, coaching somebody, whether it be Felix or potentially his daughter. I don't think they'll go that far. Unless Creed 4 takes 1 million years to make, I doubt that there's a time skip possible where you just up the age of Mara and then convince us that Creed looks exactly the same, 15 years later? I doubt
Black don't crack, bro. Black don't crack.
I am wholeheartedly convinced Jonathan Majors will look the exact same in 15 years. You can mark me on that.
Look at Will Smith, man.
You know what? There are people who don't age. Maybe Michael B. Jordan will be one of them.
But maybe he'll be Paul Rudd. I don't know.
Maybe.
But I think there's an interesting direction you take Felix, because the way they took Felix out of this movie, it did set up something. You can't set up something like that with Felix in the future. But with Bianca and Amara, they could have done more, because it did feel out of left field. They had this little plot line in the middle of the movie where they're just like, Amara, she's fighting a lot in class. You got to tell her to hold it.
That scene was hilarious, and that bully absolutely deserved it.
They did.
And then they had that little training montage in his gym where he's just like, all right, teaching her how to throw a punch or two. I think that that scene was done really well, and then just completely forgot about it. So I think there could have been more. And I did kind of hope that they could have built up the relationship between Creed and his family, and using that as a driving force to why he has to fight Dame. It's not just a feud between friends. It's the way that Dame kind of threatens his lifestyle, threatens his family. I think they could have done that a little bit better. Yeah. Because he even said it in the trailer. It was like, I'm coming for everything. I think it was in the trailer. I do think they should have built up that relationship between him and his family as a driving force for why he has to fight Dame. Other than that, I don't have an issue with how they took everybody's character. I think Bianca in her career kind of turned into the point where she's just like, you can't really do much with her career. She's having fun. She's a producer now. We'll see how it goes. But I think for Creed 4, just turn Creed into a mentor, whether it be for his daughter or for Felix or for another fighter completely. But I think taking him in that direction will do this franchise really well.
I think the thing that's biting them in the ass with Bianca is the fact that she made it clear in the first Creed. She's like, oh yeah, I'm going to be deaf at some point. But the problem is you have somebody as charismatic as Tessa Thompson playing her. Are you really gonna have a movie where you don't have Tessa Thompson say anything?
No, you're not gonna have that.
Come on now.
Maybe they do that in the final movie.
Like character wise, yes, it makes sense. And if she went deaf, I'd be fine. But come on, bro. That's like having Will Smith play a deaf character. You know, like I
He didn't
don't.
like that comment. Yeah, like you were saying, Bianca, they did kind of abandon that storyline because they definitely set something up where she, you know, kind of was starting to get that spark to go back, you know, on tour, go, you know, sing live again. And, you know, she basically kind of accepted that she wasn't going to do it either. I wouldn't mind this if they continue that storyline into the next film and, you know, kind of work their way around that. And maybe they come up with some other hearing aids, or they find out that these hearing aids, you know, don't have that same issue that she was having on stage and stuff like that. And she's able to go back on tour. And maybe that's another conflict, you know. He's trying to mentor and she's out on tour, and, you know, things are getting a little shaky. That could be another conflict for the next film. But I really hope they pick that back up, because if that's just abandoned in this movie, I feel like Bianca's arc is just being very stagnant. And I don't want that for her. I don't want that for Tessa Thompson.
Yeah, trying to think of anything else to talk about. I love the scene where they revealed that she hid the letters from him.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, "You're right, without you none of this would have happened." I said, "Oh fuck."
Mm-hmm.
Like, you just killed your mother, you dumbass.
Mm-hmm.
Because I knew something serious was gonna happen when he said that. I said, "Oh fuck," you know. And the scene where she passed away and she called him Apollo, I fucking lost it, bro.
Called him Apollo, and then
I
he said Adonis saved me. Oh,
bro, I lost it. I was a little worried that they weren't going to kill her off.
mm-hmm.
I thought they were gonna pull like, "Hey, she recovered." No,
Mm-hmm.
they went there.
They went there.
Okay,
it was necessary.
Yeah.
If they didn't do that, it would have felt not as impactful.
What were you gonna say?
I was gonna ask both of you, how did you feel with the absence of Rocky in this film?
I didn't give a shit.
I think I don't know the whole controversy. I know there's controversy between him and the studio. From what I heard, Sylvester Stallone liked the script, so it seemed like Michael B. Jordan kind of knew. I did kind of agree to a sense. I think Creed needs to stand on its own, and with the first two movies, I think we've gone past the need of Rocky. You know, I was a little bit annoyed that they just didn't mention him at all.
They mentioned him in the trailer. They don't mention him in the movie.
They have two instances where they refer to him in this movie, and I feel like it was well done.
I don't know. I'm gonna keep it a buck with you. I didn't even think about him at all in this movie.
Really?
Like at all. Like
really?
Seriously.
I thought about him pretty much.
The whole movie, I was not thinking about him at all.
There is one little complaint I had, because Creed 2 really touched on it, and I kind of had hoped that there was a little bit of a mention of it. In the second movie, it was made pretty obvious that he needed Rocky to mentor him. He needed that, you know. And I don't know if it's because they pretty much just fast forwarded his career to that extent where he just evolved past the need of Rocky. But it was a little suspect that, you know, the second movie made it pretty well known that Rocky was he was the perfect mentor for Creed. And then they're just like, oh yeah, no, well, he's not his mentor anymore. That's it.
Yeah.
That's
it. Doesn't exist anymore. Basically.
But as far as his need in the story, again, Creed needs to stand on his own, and we've gone past the need of a Rocky in this
I
movie.
agree.
So I
Yep.
I was fine with it. It's
Mhm.
not like it didn't ruin the movie, especially considering it was a more personal movie for Adonis. You don't need Rocky for that.
I am fully aware that Rocky was not necessary in this movie, but he was missed by me. I recently watched these movies for the first time, and I fell in love with Rocky and just the series itself. And watching this movie, the first film without Rocky, I'm like, dang, I missed him, but he's not necessary. Like, this is great on its own, but I miss him. So I was kind of torn. It was a little bittersweet, but yeah, I completely understand why he did not make an appearance, why he wasn't like really heavily mentioned. Kind of like, moving the spotlight over, and it makes sense. It worked.
All right. I personally don't have anything else to add about Creed 3. Does anybody else want to touch on anything before we get on out?
Don't think so.
No. All right.
I do have a piece of physical media though.
And that is our next final topic for today.
Okay.
The Blu-ray collection updates.
Blu-ray collection.
We are physical media collectors, and we're going to start off with AJ because I have more stuff.
Yeah, you definitely have more.
Go ahead.
So, I don't know if you guys know, but my personal favorite band of all time is Paramore. And my buddy right over here, this guy sent me a gift. He knows that I'm not purchasing any physical media this year, so he went ahead and blessed me with the new Paramore album on vinyl. It is an awesome album. I've probably listened to it maybe 35 times all the way through
That boy
since
looked
its
thick.
release. It's kind of thin. But,
Thick. It looked thick.
Oh.
It looked thicker than a normal vinyl.
Oh no, it's normal. But I'm ready to give this a listen. I'm ready to listen to it on vinyl. I was kind of iffy about the album at first, but I love this album, and I'm ready to listen to it again, man, on vinyl. Thanks again, man.
Yeah, bro, you got it. All right, now let's get into my. I'm not gonna show everything that I got over the past week. I did put out a video. Go check that out if you guys haven't. But I'm gonna show off 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 things. Why not? First thing I got is the Lethal Weapon 4 movie collection. I'm very happy that I own these now. Have not seen any one of these, and I'm excited to dive into them. Next, we got Event Horizon on 4K. Funny enough, I've been wanting this for like forever at this point. I didn't have the money for it, and then my Best Buy just didn't have it, and then they had it, and I had the money for it. So 2 trains passing in the middle of the railroad, and this slip is awesome. I love it. Next, we got
be a skeleton, like a skull on that.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it is.
Okay.
Next, we got Heat. This was cheap on Amazon and Best Buy. That kind of scares me as why it was cheap. I don't think it's because the movie's bad. Definitely not.
No, the movie's good.
I heard Heat is very good. But normally when transfers of good movies are cheap on 4K, that's never a good sign. Hence why Terminator 2 is always $5 on 4K.
It didn't come out that long ago either.
No, it did not. But nonetheless, Heat. Very excited to check this out, despite it being immensely long, which I did not know.
Very long movie.
Hey yo, Adrian, I got the Rocky movies on 4K. You know what I'm talking about? We got the Rocky movies on 4K. Well, 4 of them, or 4.5, if you will, because we got 2 versions of Rocky 4. The Rocky movies. If you guys were not following me, I reviewed all of these movies. Well, these movies and the rest of them. But I reviewed these movies As you guys know, I'm not a big fan of the first one. I like it. I don't love it. Rocky 2 would be my favorite of the four of these. I love Rocky 2. Rocky 3 is really good. Rocky 4 is really stupid, but, it's awesome. I have not seen the director's cut yet. I want to do that. Yeah, the Rocky movies. I like them. I like them. I like them. And the last two pieces of physical media, I'll show these both because they kind of go together. Don't fall. We got the two Leica steelbooks that just came out. We got the Kubo and the Two Strings steelbook, very gorgeous steelbook, and we got the Box Trolls, beautiful steelbook. Absolutely love this steelbook. Now I have all four of the Leica movies on steelbook. Very happy about that. I just watched one the other day. Coraline with AJ was unfortunately not a big fan of it, but the 4K looked fantastic. So there's that. And the last thing I wanted to do before we get on out of here, which I kind of forgot until right now, clearly, is rank the Rocky and Creed movies. Now, Kevin cannot do this because he did not do his homework.
Well, you haven't seen the Rocky movies?
No, he hasn't.
No, I mentioned it earlier.
Oh.
I don't know why.
No, you know why.
I kept on delaying and delaying it until it was too late for me to watch them all. So
wait, you haven't seen any of them?
No.
Oh.
I only saw the first two Creed movies.
I did the same thing when Creed 2 came out. I had only watched the Creed movies. I didn't watch the Rocky movies.
Right.
But just to feel involved, it would be Creed 3 is the best for me. Creed 1 is the second best. Creed 2 is, I can't even call it the worst. It's just the bottom of the list. It's just the lesser of the three movies. But that's it. Just to feel involved.
All right. So I'll let AJ go first, and then I'll go.
Hold on. I never added Creed 3 to my list here. So you go, and then.
All right. So we're going to keep this short and sweet so we can get on out of here. So I'm not going to go in detail with each of these. I'll just say why they're here. So in last place, and I think everyone and their mother who's a fan of this franchise will have this here, it's Rocky 5. While I don't think Rocky 5 is as bad as people say it is at all, this movie is very disappointing. Mm-hmm. And to think that this was supposed to be the last movie before the other movies is a catastrophe. But yeah, Rocky 5, there are things I like about Rocky 5, but there are things that get on my nerves about Rocky 5. So that is why it is at number 9. Number 8. AJ might fling that vinyl as a weapon right now.
No. My vinyl. I'll throw something else at you.
Number 8 is the first Rocky.
I know.
It's just not for me, bro. It's basically a soap opera with some boxing in it, and it just wasn't for me, you know. Who knows? I do want to rewatch it. I do, believe it or not. Like, I want to watch my 4K of it, but it just wasn't for me. That's not what, to me, the first movie is not what I come to these movies for. Number 7 is going to be Living in America. Rocky 4. Awesome. It's so stupid, but my God, do I love it. It's so dumb. Montage
on montage.
Ran up a mountain. A snow mountain.
Mountain at that. Yes.
Jono! Yeah. Rocky 4 is good, though. I like Rocky 4. Number 6 is going to be Rocky 3. I pity the fool. Rocky 3, bro. Rocky 3 is also really stupid, but it also has Apollo Creed being fucking awesome. And I love it because of that. Yeah, Rocky 3 is some good stuff. That montage when they hug and run in the water on the beach and hug each other like bros.
That's the best Apollo, bro.
Yeah,
I'm
definitely.
telling you.
Number 5 is gonna be Rocky Balboa. Number 5. This was like an adrenaline shot beyond belief after watching Rocky 5. But Rocky Balboa was some good stuff, man. I think Sylvester Stallone is probably the best in this movie as Rocky to me. I love him in this movie. His journey is just incredible. The only thing that holds it back is the person he fights is fucking lame. This pencil cap has more character development than he does in that movie. But yeah, number 5 is Rocky Balboa. Number 4 is gonna be Rocky 2. This movie is absolutely outstanding. The montage in this movie made me want to bench press the Empire State Building. That's how inspirational that was. When they show him running with the kids, nothing tops it. Nothing tops it. That is an incredible moment in cinema. But this movie was amazing. When he finally wins, yo, Adrian, I did it! Oh man, that's awesome. That's some good stuff. And for those asking, yeah, are you biased towards Creed? I did see these movies first, so it could be. It could be. You know, but I do have positive and negative with these movies. So number 3 is going to be Creed 3. We just talked about it. I really liked Creed 3 a lot. You know, as Kevin said when he said his least favorite, it's the lesser, but it's just the less good. This movie was fucking fantastic. Number 2 is going. I did not put them like this on purpose, I swear. Number 2 is going to be Creed 2. This movie. This and number 1, they go back and forth with each other, to be honest. There are things I like more about one than the other, but my god, I love both these movies. Creed 2, man, them bringing in the Dragos, even now after seeing Rocky 4, this movie means even more to me. I love this movie. I do. I think it's absolutely outstanding. It has, without a doubt, my favorite performances from these characters in this movie. And them bringing in the Dragos was awesome to me. You know, I love both of them. You know, I think Drago, when he fights Creed, is awesome. He's intimidating. Both their fights are fantastic. And it's just an incredible movie. And it has an incredible training montage. I mean, incredible. But number 1 is going to be the first Creed. This movie absolutely breaks me every time I watch it. I mean, every time I watch it. When Rocky talks about how he wants to give everything away to have one more day with Adrian, you will hear tears and sniffles coming from my face. That scene is phenomenal. But that's just one phenomenal scene in a movie that is full of phenomenal scenes. This movie, without a doubt, does not have the advantage of Creed 2 in the sense that Drago is a way more interesting villain than Conway. But this movie, to me, it just has more better acting, and I like the fact that it's the first movie. You know, I love it. Again, these two go back and forth, but I absolutely adore the shit out of this movie. Overall, as a franchise, I love this franchise. It's a great franchise, you know, and there are worse franchises. Even with a movie like Rocky 5 in the bottom, you can get worse. You can get Saw the Final Chapter. You can get Nightmare on Elm Street, Freddy's Dead. You can get, you know, Jason Takes Manhattan or like Jason X. You can get that bad.
All the
this
horror
franchise, you know, this franchise does not get that bad. So appreciate that, please. But yeah, that is my ranking of the Rocky and Creed movies. Mr. AJ, you are up.
All right. Last but not least, AJ's ranking of the Rocky and Creed movies. Like I said, I watched all of these movies for the first time very recently, within the past month or so. I intend to return to this franchise very often because I absolutely love these movies. One of my favorite franchises, and I just got introduced to them. So, starting at number 9, Rocky 5. I think that's this movie is probably at the bottom of pretty much everybody's list. Period. Um, it's not like Tyler said, it's not as bad as everybody says it is. It's not a half star. I got it sitting at a 3.
Me too.
I feel like upon rewatch, it might fluctuate, but I feel like the 3 is pretty much where it's gonna stay. Um, Next is number 8, Rocky 4. I enjoy Rocky 4. I have it at a 4, and like Kevin said, like not to say lesser so much as just, or it is like the lesser of them, but not like a worse film. So I'm gonna say Rocky 4. I really enjoyed it. Montage on montage on montage. Give it to me. I enjoyed it. Number 7 is gonna be Rocky Balboa, and I know this is kind of low, but I love everything with Rocky in this movie.
Dude,
But
honestly,
I can't.
everything as long as it's above Rocky 5, it ain't low to me.
Yeah, so I mean, I still got to add a 4. I've still got to add a 4 out of 5. I really enjoyed this movie. Um, the the opponent in this movie is probably the worst of all of them.
Yeah.
I might even say I like Tommy more than I like this guy. I don't even know his name.
I like Tommy more. Dylan. I
don't
think his
even
name is Max Dillon. I think.
Max Dillon. Okay, I mean, I'm gonna take your word for it. Next, this is gonna hurt Tyler. Next is gonna hurt Tyler, but it's sitting at a 4.5. So, it's gonna be Creed 2. I absolutely love Creed 2. That's just where it's sitting. Creed it's number 5 is gonna be the first Creed. I know that hurts you too, but it's also at a 4.5 out of 5. Then number 4, I have Creed 3 sitting at a 4.5. We just talked about this movie. Phenomenal film. Best movie of the year so far. Number 3 is going to be. Oh, I did the same thing that you did, but with the Rocky movies. Rocky 3 is going to be number 3. 5 out of 5 for me. Absolutely loved it. Number 2, Rocky 2. Absolutely love this movie. 5 out of 5. And number 1 is going to be Rocky. 5 out of 5. I love this franchise. I love these movies. I can't wait to return to them and watch them again. I love them.
All right.
So that is my ranking.
All right. We are going to get on out of here. If you guys have seen Creed 3 or any of the things that we talked about today, please let us know down below what you've thought about them, if you liked them, if you hated them, all that good stuff. All of our stuff will be down below in the comments section. We are going to get on out of here. In terms of future Nerd Talk, we will be back this Sunday evening talking about Mandalorian Season 3 episode numero dos. And we will be also doing a spoiler talk for Scream 6. Should be interesting nonetheless. Very excited for that. If you guys enjoyed the stream, please leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already to Alex's channel. If you guys like Blu-ray videos, Blu-ray hunting videos, Blu-ray collection videos, live streams, all that stuff, then you're in the right place. Please subscribe if you haven't. Turn on that bell for all future notifications. And we will see you this weekend for another episode of Nerd Talk. Everyone have a great night.